An unprovoked attack at a hamburger stand leaves an innocent teen dead.
It was just bedlam. A group of guys surrounded the car. It was very scary, traumatic.
After running down a series of dead-end leads, Lieutenant Joe Kenda uncovers a critical piece of evidence.
One of them was wearing a purple hat.
And he's got it turned around to try to cover his face.
But before Kenda can track down his prime suspect, a surprise witness blows the case wide open.
A kid who doesn't think about consequences has in his hand the ultimate consequence. Is he going to think a lot before he uses that gun? No, he isn't. There is no tomorrow. There is only right now. All the things that adults learn, kids don't yet know. In their opinion, they are immortal. They're going to live forever. And it doesn't matter what they do as long as it's good for them. It is the nature of youth. It can be very dangerous in some cases. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I'm Lieutenant Joe Kenda. I've solved nearly 400 homicides. Somebody has to take control. Somebody has to look out for the victim. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved.
It's a blistering summer night in downtown Colorado Springs. And high school kids are engaged in their favorite pastime on the Nevada Avenue Strip. Cruising.
Everybody just cruised up and down Nevada Avenue at that point.
Those the kid hangout. Those are quite a mix of people that would do nothing but drive their cars up and down, race, drink beer.
The most popular stop for teens cruising the Strip is a fast food joint called the Hamburger Stand.
Hamburger Stand was a place where you'd meet up with your girlfriend that your parents disapprove of, or vice versa.
Teenagers flirted, talked, bragged. Everything went on in the parking lot there. Yeah, it was definitely a social hub.
As the night wears on and the crowd thins out, 19-year-old Lisa Martin, her 16-year-old sister Heather, and a few of their friends prepare to head home.
We were just getting ready to leave, and everybody else was already gone. I had a hole in my radiator, so I had to put water in it.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Oh, wait. All right.
It was a normal night up until then.
All right, let's get out of here.
A group of guys came out from around the back of the hamburger stand, surrounded the car.
One of them reached in on the driver's side. Then you have at least two on the passenger side of the car. You got the wrong guy.
They opened the door and grabbed me and pulled me out of the car.
No, he's... Oh my God! Guy, man, I swear I don't know what's going on.
8 miles from the Strip, Lieutenant Joe Kenda is at home, fast asleep.
About 10 minutes to 3 in the morning. The kids are there, my wife is there, the dogs are there. When I heard that phone ring, I would try to grab it before the first ring completed. It was my job to respond, but it wasn't my family's job.
This is Kenda.
Dispatch informs Kenda there's been a shooting on Nevada Avenue.
And they want detectives.
Be there in 10 minutes.
Well, all right then. That's who we are, so we will be on our way.
time Kenda arrives at the scene, Nevada Avenue is all but empty, and the hamburger stand is deserted.
So the only thing I see when I get there is a bunch of trash and the police.
How you doing? Good, sir. So what we got? Our victim was shot multiple times while sitting in his parked car. He was then driven to the hospital in the same car. The idea?
There is a 16-year-old male who they identify as one Gary Davis. Gary is a very small boy. He doesn't weigh 130 pounds soaking wet. Davis is examined in the emergency room and pronounced dead from 5 small caliber gunshot wounds.
Where'd this take place? It looks like the car he was sitting in was parked over here. Anything on ballistics?
We've got 3 .22 caliber casings so far.
We're looking for 5, we find 3. But 22 caliber casings are very small. They can get picked up in tire treads, they can get kicked, they can get moved, they can get stepped on and crushed. We know there's 2 more somewhere, but we certainly can't find them.
You can go ahead and tag those. Make sure you get some good stills and video.
We'll do, Lieutenant.
Any witnesses? Yes, sir. There were 4 other people in the car.
The officer explains that Gary was in the car with Lisa and Heather, as well as their other pals, Deborah Wilson and Donnell McClendon.
And where are they? They're at the hospital. The officers there have them detained.
All of the occupants have been detained so they can be interviewed by detectives.
I'm gonna head to the hospital. Let me know if you hear anything else. I will, sir. Got it.
So I direct the lab people to collect the expended casings, pick up anything else in a parking lot that might be connected to this, do videos, do stills, and I'm going to the hospital.
Spring witnesses. It's this group right here. This is Lisa Martin. She was the driver. Thank you.
The driver could be, and likely is, the best witness. So it's most important to me to talk to her first.
Lisa, what happened tonight?
These guys came out of nowhere, surrounded the car.
They are angry. They keep saying, we're looking for a guy in a blue jumpsuit.
Someone in the passenger door pulled her out.
What are you doing?
Do you think of anyone that would want to harm Gary?
No, nobody.
According to Lisa Martin, Gary Davis was the type of person who made friends easily.
He was very good-hearted, and everybody liked being around him. He made everybody smile. I think he liked being the center of attention and making people laugh.
Hey guys, sorry about that.
Hey,
Where are we going?
I don't know. Alright, get some ice cream.
Yes, let's do that.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm just getting on my bike.
Are you serious?
Gary was outgoing, funny, goofing around all the time. He was kind of the class clown. He was just always being silly. Made all of us laugh all the time. That was just his personality. Everybody that met him liked him. He was always smiling, laughing, easy to talk to. Still, he was a kid at heart.
But Lisa also admits that Gary's outgoing personality masked troubles at home.
He was being raised by a single mother, and like all single mothers, her preoccupation dealt with making a living.
Gary's dad had exited before he was born.
I think Gary was very lonely. Gary was a lost kid back then. That's why I think he would end up at our house and stay there for days at a time.
So he is a candidate for being a lost person, and he becomes one. He sometimes spends his time in the wrong places. For example, the middle of the night in a hamburger stand on Nevada Avenue. Somebody said a long time ago, nothing good happens after midnight, and nothing does.
Did you ever look at any of these guys' faces?
No, not really. It was kind of hard to see.
How about what they were wearing?
One of them was wearing a long black coat.
She remembers the shooter wearing a long, black or dark coat, and she remembers his hand being black, and she therefore believes he was an African American.
Heather, when they pulled you from the car, did you get a look at their faces?
It happened so fast, and they all had their faces covered. But I remember one thing.
What was that?
One of them was wearing a purple hat.
She distinctly remembers it is a purple hat, and he's got it turned around to try to cover his face.
Get his ass!
Then she says, when they look at Gary, the man in the purple hat says, shoot him. Shoot that son of a bitch.
How about you? Did you ever see the faces?
Nobody can ultimately describe them very well, except for the purple hat.
I do remember that purple hat.
Everybody seems to remember that.
Thank you for the help. If we need anything else, we'll be in touch. Thanks.
Even though all 4 eyewitnesses were next to Gary when he was shot, they've given Kenda remarkably little to go on.
I'm at this hospital and I'm thinking, okay, I'm listening to all these distraught people tell me what they remember, which isn't very much. And I'm really in need of someone that's going to tell me something.
Dispatch to Kenda.
Go for Kenda.
I get a radio call that says they just had a witness walk into police headquarters and announce that they were at the hamburger stand that night when the shooting happened. Wonderful. Maybe this is somebody that actually knows something. So here we are in this case. We have a crowd of kids around a hamburger stand. Shots are fired. We have a 16-year-old dead in a car. And nobody seems to know much about how this happened or who might be responsible. But now we're in a position to have our first witness we can talk to that might know something about it. So I get introduced to one Jody Thompson. She's a 19-year-old girl. She knows Gary Davis.
This is Jody. Hi, Jody.
Kenda is hopeful Jody will have critical information about who may have wanted Gary dead.
Have you knew Gary?
Yeah, we were friends.
I'm sorry for your loss. Can you think of anyone that might want to hurt him? Any enemies that he might have had?
She knows that he has had words and threats in the past with an individual she identifies as Dixon.
You know what?
Gary tried too hard to fit in sometimes, and that annoyed people, I guess.
Did you see Gary last night at the hamburger stand?
Yeah. He was just hanging out with some friends.
Is this Dixon there also?
Yeah.
She also remembers Dixon was there, and he was wearing a long black coat. And I said, what race is Dixon? Well, he's African American. So we now have a guy that has a black hand and a long dark coat. But he also has something more, and something I need. He has a name.
Hey, Jim. Yes, sir. Can you see what we got on a Dixon, age 15 to 23, African American? Sure thing. Thanks.
So we narrow that down rather quickly to Mark Dixon.
Mark Dixon is a senior in high school and already has a criminal record.
Is this him?
Yeah, that's him. That's Dixon.
He is in the area when the shooting occurs. He is, according to Jody Thompson, a known enemy of our victim.
Within the hour, Mark Dixon is brought in for questioning.
We are able to find him rather easily, and we bring him in for an interview, and we explain why.
Is it true that you and Gary were enemies?
Nah. I mean, he got on my nerves, but Gary got on everybody's nerves, you know?
Were you at the hamburger stand last night?
I was there.
What time did you leave?
I left before anybody got shot.
You know what time it was?
Before midnight, I'm sure.
Can you go check out Mr. Dixon's alibi, please?
Yes, sir.
We are able to run down his friends and find their information. He's not the registered owner of a weapon. He's not anything. He's not part of this.
Thank you. You're free to go.
So our first witness that seems so promising has just gone up in smoke.
The following morning,
This is Kenda.
another teenager surfaces with a more promising lead.
So there's a girl who calls us whose name is Jessica Stone. Now Jessica is of significance to us because she's a girlfriend to Gary Davis. She calls up and says, I just talked to the guy who shot Gary.
Really?
Wow. Is that a fact?
30 minutes later,
Lieutenant Kenda? Jessica.
Kenda is sitting down with Jessica Stone, a 16-year-old high school junior, and her mother.
Well, Jessica, start from the beginning. Tell me what happened.
Jessica says that the night after the murder, she and her friend were hanging out downtown.
Ladies, what's up? Hey, looking beautiful tonight.
Thanks.
I was wondering if you could give my buddy and I a ride. It's cool with you, Chris?
I guess.
Yeah. Let's go. And we picked up a couple guys who needed a ride, and his name, the passenger, the hitchhiker, is Crazy K. Now we know Crazy K. He gets the name Crazy for a reason. He's capable of violence. He's capable of erratic behavior. He often has a gun or has an access to one. He's a prolific criminal with a long criminal history.
According to Jessica, while Crazy K was riding with her, he noticed a picture of Gary clipped to her visor.
Yeah, that's some bad that happened to me.
You know about that?
Baby, I know everything.
This kid immediately says that he is responsible for that guy's death, that he put a contract on him, and his cousin Tony carried it out.
And he actually told you that?
Now, for the first time, we have a direct accusation. Not a rumor. We have Jessica saying, he told me this. Crazy K said he had Gary killed. Could that be true? Of course it could, particularly involving that player. He has a reputation that he is not to be trifled with. We're investigating this death of Gary Davis, shot to death in a hamburger stand, 16-year-old kid. We've gotten absolutely nowhere talking to all these kids, naming all these different people as being involved in this crime, none of whom are involved in it.
But 48 hours after the murder, Lieutenant Joe Kenda finally secures a concrete lead. Gary Davis's girlfriend, Jessica Stone, informs Kenda that a known street tough named Crazy K admitted to ordering Gary's murder, and that Crazy K's cousin, Tony Cruz, was the triggerman. Armed with this new intel, Kenda sets out to track down the two young men. He gets a bead on Tony first.
Yes, can I help you?
Is Tony Cruz here?
Yes, he is. Who's asking?
Lieutenant Joe Kenda, Colorado Springs Police Department.
Anthony, can you come here, please?
Cousin Tony is like 13. He weighs about as much as a table lamp.
You know Gary Davis?
No, I don't.
He was killed 2 nights ago at the hamburger stand.
And we hear you are responsible. No, sir. I promise I didn't do anything.
His bravado melts away, and he becomes what he is. He's a scared little kid.
Where were you 2 nights ago?
I was with my friends, Jimmy Lawson and Lenny Dane.
You know the phone numbers?
Yes, sir.
Write them down for me, please. Thank you. We'll be in touch.
We can establish Tony's whereabouts on the night in question quite well, and he is not involved in the event because he couldn't be. He was nowhere near the hamburger stand when those shots were fired.
Dispatch to Kenda.
Dispatch confirms that Crazy K, who was actually 27-year-old Kenneth Charles, wasn't even in the state of Colorado the night Gary Davis was killed.
So all of this business, this Crazy K stuff and Tony stuff, is all part of this rumor mill on the street, none of which has any meaning. So we are spinning our wheels. I've dealt with rumor, I've dealt with bravado. I need to deal with something that is real. And so far, I don't have anything that's real.
With no viable leads to go on.
Come in.
Here's a Crime Stoppers file you asked for.
Okay, then. Is this gonna be a long night?
Kenda turns to the Crime Stoppers tips that have inundated the CSPD since the shooting.
It's a stack 3 inches thick. It's just overwhelming, the amount of information that's there, and it's all very vague.
In a really incendiary situation like this, you could get hundreds of calls that really have nothing to do with the situation at all, and they have to sort through all this stuff.
You would need 500 policemen to go through these documents in a matter of months to maybe find something, but probably not. I don't have 500 policemen.
After reviewing more than a dozen reports, Kenda begins to think he's barking up the wrong tree.
I'm sitting there staring at this stack of paper thinking, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with the rumor mill here that's now presented in printed form? It goes on and on and on.
But just then, Kenda gets a tip from an unexpected source.
Come in.
Hey, Lieutenant.
Officer Balso walks into my office and he says, I know this waitress at the Ponderosa Steakhouse.
She said her friend's boyfriend was the killer.
I kind of like that. That's linked information. Not vague, not rumor. Linked. Maybe this is somebody that might know something.
Where do we find this waitress?
I think she's working right now at the Ponderosa Sound Union.
Let's go get some steak.
So we meet this waitress. She's 19 years old. Her name is Pamela Carpenter.
Okay, tell us what you know about what happened to Gary Davis.
Pamela's nervous, and I like the fact that she's nervous because that means that maybe this is good.
Well, I have this friend,
What's her name?
Simone, and she has this boyfriend, and it's kind of a really messed up relationship. They fight all the time.
What's the boyfriend's name?
Gino?
Gino?
Yeah.
In a stroke of pure luck, Kenda recognizes the name Gino. He was listed as a possible suspect in one of the dozens of Crime Stoppers tips Kenda managed to read.
That hit me like a lightning bolt. I didn't say anything, but I thought, Gino. Well, now, there's a match, isn't it?
Eugene Dean III, a.k.a. Gino, is 18 years old. He has recently been expelled from school and lives with his parents.
What can you tell me about this, Gino?
Well, he told Simone that he killed this guy at the hamburger stand, and that if she said anything at all, she was really gonna get it.
Have you met this, Gino?
Yeah. I was dropping Simone off the other night at her house.
All right, girl, have fun.
Yeah, we gotta do it again, you know?
Yeah.
What you been, huh? Over here.
Oh my God, what are you doing? ran over and yanked her out of the car, and he just started beating her up right in front of me.
She explains Gino's abusive, physically and mentally abusive to her. I've been a witness to it. And now all Simone is mad. Well, I like it when people are mad. When they're mad at someone, they can't wait to tell you about them.
Where can we find this, Simone?
Probably school?
Oh, thank you. That's all we have for now.
Yeah.
Simone could unlock this entire affair. Well, come on. Let's go find Simone.
Simone is a senior at a high school on the east side of Colorado Springs. Officer Mulso and Lieutenant Kenda find her there.
Simone, this is Lieutenant Kenda from the CSPD. He has a few questions for you.
Hello, Simone. We're investigating the shooting at the hamburger stand. Do you know anything about that?
I don't remember too much from that night.
Simone is a kid that doesn't talk to adults. Very vague, very standoffish.
We've already talked to Pamela. She told us everything. Now we want to hear from you.
Mulso knows her well enough to say, look, Simone, we don't have time for the game. Game's over. She starts to cry. This is not a good thing, but we're getting somewhere. And I said, okay, so Gino's involved in this, right? Yeah, and there's other people too. Oh, yeah?
Then, Simone says something that catches Kenda's attention.
There was this guy with this purple hat.
I looked at her and I said, what did you say?
Did she have a purple hat on?
Yeah, it was definitely purple.
You really do know, don't you? Simone is who I've been looking for. Up to this point, we've been driving a Volkswagen Bug. Simone had just given me the keys to a Ferrari.
Kenda has been on the hunt for the killer of Gary Davis, a happy-go-lucky 16-year-old who was shot in cold blood for no apparent reason.
So here we've been after a couple of months of frustration and rumor, and we've gotten absolutely nowhere fast. Now we are hitting on all 12 cylinders because I have Simone, and Simone knows what she's talking about.
Simone has told Kenda that her boyfriend Gino was at the hamburger stand the night 16-year-old Gary Davis was shot dead. She also tells Kenda that Gino was with another young man who was wearing a purple hat.
If she knows that, she knows everything else.
But the question is, will she talk?
She is fearful of Gino, and with good reason. He's done everything in the world to convince her that she's going to be next if she ever tells anybody what she knows about this.
Gino had beaten the crap out of her, and she knew how dangerous he was. And he made sure that she knew unless she remained his alibi, he was going to come after her.
And even though she's afraid of Gino, deep down in her heart, she's also angry with him. I want to get past the fear and get to the anger. Make her think that this is the only way out for her, because ultimately it is.
If you want Gino to stop hurting you, if you want him to stay away, we're the only ones that can make that happen.
So you have to help us. And we, in turn, will help you.
Simone, we need you to tell us everything you know.
There are many occasions when men put their hands on a woman violently to make them do something. And it never works. Eventually, the truth comes out. Now they're not only going to stop doing what you want, they're going to get even for you making the demand.
Finally, Simone decides to end her silence.
Gino had called me that night. Hey, baby, what time are you coming over?
Hey,
understanding.
I don't know. We got something to do with the boys first.
And he said, well, it's going to be late because I got to go do something with my friend William.
Well, I'm about to go to bed, okay?
So she did. She went to bed.
Hours later, while Simone was asleep, Gino snuck in through her window, like he often did.
Babe.
Only this time, he was acting strange.
Never did something like that before.
You okay?
Babe. I shot somebody.
Simone's statement fingers Gino as the shooter, but Kenda presses her for more information.
Who else was he with?
He was with 5 other guys.
Who is Purple Hat? Well, his name is William Dennis. So now Purple Hat has a name.
But you're sure it was Gino that pulled the trigger?
I mean, that's what he told me. But he said William told him to do it.
In the eyes of the law in Colorado, there is no difference between the one who pulls the trigger and the one who incites one to pull it. They are equally responsible for the murder.
Simone also gives Kenda the names of the 4 other participants in the shooting: Dwayne Hodges, Marshall Hurd, Anthony Jackson, and Billy Hickman.
But I see them as conspirators and not as participants in the actual crime. William and Gino certainly are the main actors. So we're going to prepare arrest warrants for them.
Once the warrants are ready, Kenda and Officer Mulso head back to the high school and inform school officials they've come to arrest William Dennis.
Do you mind calling down to the office for me? When we have a warrant charging you with a crime of first-degree murder, you're under arrest for the murder of Gary Davis.
William Dennis almost passed out when we said that. And we said, you're not going to juvenile detention where you have been in the past. You're going to the El Paso County Jail where you will be held without bond.
Turn around, place your hands behind your back.
So we have William Dennis in our hands. We don't have Gino in our hands. And the rumor is that Gino is running. So Gino's in the wind. Our mission is to find him, as well as the other players in this affair. And finding people is something we happen to be very good at. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how far you run, because if you look over your shoulder, you're going to see us. Home, we are rounding the clubhouse turn. After lots of groundless rumor, we are down to the facts of who killed Gary Davis.
Kenda has put the cuffs on the crime's alleged mastermind, 17-year-old William Dennis. But the shooter, Eugene Dean III, a.k.a. Gino, is on the run.
Gino has fled the jurisdiction. Gino is gone somewhere. And I don't consider that a problem. It's just a matter of finding him.
Hey, Lieutenant, we got something on Gino Dean.
What is it?
A call came in from the father of a guy named Tommy Skaggs. He says Tommy and Gino are driving to Illinois.
Did you say what they were driving?
Apparently it's van.
I need to put a bolo out in every state between here and Chicago.
What do you say?
Thank you.
While he waits for the bolo to smoke out Gino and his friend Tommy Skaggs, Kenda's next step is to get a participant in the shooting to talk.
It is very important to us from a prosecutorial standpoint to have a participant say what happened in this event.
He starts with William Dennis, who is in county lockup awaiting his preliminary hearing.
Well, I need you to tell me what happened the night Gary Davis was killed.
I know he was killed. That's about all I know.
But you were at the hamburger stand, right?
I was there, but I didn't see anything.
Who were you with?
Can I speak to my lawyer?
Get him out of here.
Yes, sir.
With William Dennis lawyered up,
We're gonna need to get everybody else in here.
Kenda goes after the other young men Simone identified as participants in Gary Davis's murder. First on the list is Dwayne Hodges.
Stacy.
Dwayne is 16 years old. His mother comes into the station. Everybody's very distraught, including him. He understands this is very serious now. This is not kid stuff anymore.
Dwayne, I need you to tell me what happened at the hamburger stand the night Gary Davis was shot.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. I don't even know any of those guys.
Dwayne initially says, I don't know what we're talking about. He doesn't know William. He doesn't know Gino. He doesn't know any of these people.
Dwayne, let me give you a little dose of reality. You do know who it was. And more importantly, they know who you are. So if you don't tell me what happened, I'm going to assume that you did this. That you pulled the trigger. You killed Gary.
Tell him, Dwayne. Tell him what you know.
All right. Look, we didn't plan to shoot anybody. At least, I didn't know about any plan to shoot anyone. It all started because of Marshall.
The Marshall Dwayne is referring to is Marshall Hurd, one of the other young men Kenda believes was present when Gary was shot.
Marshall's deal is that a few weeks before, at the same place, the hamburger stand, Marshall gets in a fight with a guy wearing a blue jumpsuit. And the dude in the blue jumpsuit hit Marshall in the face with a gun.
So Marshall wanted to get back at him.
All he talks about is getting even with the guy in the blue jumpsuit for hurting him.
So what happened the night Gary was shot?
Earlier that night, Marshall was downtown.
He's cruising Nevada. He sees a guy in a car at the hamburger stand that he thinks is the guy in the blue jumpsuit.
Hey, yo, that's him. That's him. That's him. That's him. That's him. I know that's him, man. He's talking. That's the dude who smashed my face.
So Marshall called Gino and told him that the guy that pistol whipped him was at the hamburger stand.
So what'd you do?
Dwayne and Gino and William and the other guys all decide they're going to go down there to the hamburger stand and they're going to kick this guy's ass.
Then it got crazy. Like the movie.
Like what movie?
That evening, all these guys all went to see the movie Boys in the Hood. They're kids. Movies become reality to them. They come out of this theater all jazzed up about being boys in the hood. And the next thing you know, there's a discussion about going and beating somebody up. And now they get a chance to do it for real.
Hey, what do you need that for? He's gonna fight him, right?
He's bringing him. Don't be.
A kid who doesn't think about consequences has in his hand the ultimate consequence. Is he going to think a lot before he uses that gun? No, he isn't. There is no tomorrow. There is only right now.
What happened when you got there?
We went up to the car to get the guy that pistol whipped Marshall.
Where's the guy, Monto?
What are you talking about?
They keep saying we're looking for a guy in a blue jumpsuit.
You got the wrong guy. Is that him? Is that him?
Well, Gary's not wearing a blue jumpsuit. Gary doesn't even own a jumpsuit, let alone a blue one. But they're determined, somehow, that this must be him.
Man,
What are you talking about?
man, I didn't do anything. Get him! Pop his ass! Then pop his ass!
He's the adolescent brain, not considering consequences of his actions. He is caught up in the moment. William tells him to shoot, and that's exactly what he does.
Get him! Now what are you waiting for?
Where'd you go afterwards?
We ran back to our cars. Gino, what happened back there?
Man, I don't know, man. Got stuck in my jacket. It just stopped firing.
He said it backfired and kept going off.
I looked at Dwayne, I said, Dwayne, cars backfire, not guns. This weapon is semi-automatic. It's going to fire a round every time the trigger is pulled. So firing it is quite simple, but it's a conscious act. It doesn't just keep firing. It's not a machine gun, it's a rifle. He may not have meant the first one, but he certainly meant the last four.
Was Gary even the guy you were looking for?
Marshall wasn't sure, but I don't think he was. Marshall, was that even the guy that hit you?
Man, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I can't tell if it was him.
We have people whipping themselves into a frenzy seeking revenge, and they wind up killing the wrong kid. And 16-year-old Gary Davis dies in a tragic case of mistaken identity.
Gary was in the wrong place at the wrong time. They got the wrong guy.
Kenda interviews the 4 other young men allegedly involved in the shooting.
So tell me what you saw.
They were all able to provide a very consistent, similar story, the key facts being the same.
How many times did he hit you?
I don't know, about 5 times.
William was yelling over and over to shoot him.
Gino was poking him with the gun and then he shot him.
Their combined testimony is enough to clench the case against Gino, but Kenda still has to bring him into custody. Fortunately, Gino's parents convince him to turn himself in.
Lieutenant, look who we have here.
Well, hello, Gino. Welcome home. Word processing for me?
Yes, sir.
At the end of the day, we never got in front of a jury. Prosecution and the defense came to an agreement that Gino Eugene Dean III would plead guilty to 1 count of second-degree murder and crime of violence and accept a sentence of 42 years in prison, which he was given by a judge. William Dennis, the instigator, pled guilty and was sentenced to 18 years in prison for his role in this offense.
The other young men were given probation in exchange for their testimony. But even with justice served, it's not enough to wipe away the tragedy of Gary Davis's untimely death.
It shows how life could be unfair. It's not, it was a horrible mistake and such a young person's life taken so early.
It's a tragic case because a poor little kid who was really struggling just got massacred.
As you often find in murder cases, there's not the Hollywood motive. It's multi-million-dollar motive, the steamy triangle. This is a little kid. He's not a criminal. He's never committed a crime. And we lose him to a senseless act of violence. That is very sad.
Two murder investigations from the case files of Lieutenant Joe Kenda. First, a powerful explosion rocked the suburban neighborhood.
Everybody was talking about the devastation and gruesomeness of what had occurred out there.
This particular case was just beyond anything I'd ever seen.
Kenda desperately works to uncover what triggered the blast as nefarious theories emerge from the ashes.
There's no question in my mind that this could be an intentional act of murder.
Then, a young mother is viciously gunned down in her own bedroom.
Just walk in, shoot, and walk out. Someone thought about this. You shoot someone more than once for a reason.
The frantic search for her killer culminates in a heart-pounding showdown.
Throw your gun out the window! He's already committed 1 act of violence. You're really concerned that he's going to commit another act of violence.
But people start waving guns around. Somebody's going to live or die here.
Oh my God!
You never anticipate the level of gruesomeness before you actually see it. It is initially, when I first started into this business, quite shocking. I had great difficulty eating. I had great difficulty sleeping. It's very startling. It's not the movies. It's not makeup. It's blood. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I'm Lieutenant Joe Kenda. I've solved nearly 400 homicides. Somebody has to take control. Somebody has to look out for the victim. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved.
On a warm Sunday afternoon in Colorado Springs, Larry Conway is savoring the last few hours of the weekend.
He'd had a good day, and he was going to go sit outside on his porch and have a beer. He's settled into his chair, popped his beer.
He had no idea what it was. He knew it was something big.
Larry bolts from his front porch towards the source of the explosion.
He looks over the fence and sees smoke coming out of the garage. You can see that there's a lot of devastation that occurred in this garage, and knew something terrible had happened.
And then he's noticing that there's like spray, like red. And for a second, he wonders if maybe it was like some kind of paint canister explosion. And then he realizes that it looks a whole lot like blood. So he decides to call 911.
Not far away, Lieutenant Joe Kenda is spending his Sunday trapped behind a mountain of paperwork.
I was working on a Sunday afternoon. PDs operate 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Holidays don't matter, weekends don't matter. So for me to work on a Sunday afternoon is not unusual.
This Kenda.
The phone rings from the dispatch center and they say, we've got the fire department at the scene of what they say is an explosion. And further, they think they've found human remains.
What do you mean they think they found human remains?
I remember this call because of that phrase. They're not sure if it's human remains, but they think so. Why would they only think so? Why don't they know?
Minutes later, Kenda pulls up to a single-family dwelling flanked by police and bystanders. To the right of the house sits a detached garage, still smoldering.
Hey, Lieutenant. How you doing? Doing good. What do we got? I got a neighbor called 911. Heard a loud explosion. A lot of smoke. A lot of damage to the garage.
We walk into the front area of this garage. The door is up, although it's been damaged in the fire. And the back wall of this place is distorted and blown out to a degree. There's holes in the walls, the windows, the overhead door, various parts of this building. All this damage looks like shrapnel damage emanating from a central source.
Is anyone checking to see if this could be from natural gas?
They're looking into that now. My initial thought was a gas meter explosion.
There's something you need to see, and I warn you, it's not pretty.
And this garage, a few feet inside the door, is literally a large pile of what looks like human flesh. I don't see a head. I don't see a face. I don't see identifiable arms.
Wow.
But I do see the lower legs and a pair of shoes. One has to assume that this pile is what used to be this person from the knees up.
Any clue who this is?
No idea.
I think it's a man. Look at the shoes.
They are men's work boots. They are size 11. That tells you adult and tells you most likely male.
I'll send some guys out and talk to the neighbors, see if we get an idea on this guy.
Sure. Lieutenant, just spoke to the fire department. There's no way this is the gas explosion. The meter's up and it's working fine.
All right, thank you.
So it's not a gas explosion. And if it's not that, then what is it? There's a number of possibilities. What if our man is smoking a cigarette and the place is filled with gasoline vapor from gas cans that are commonly found in a garage? Second scenario, what if our victim walks into this building and the building's been wired. It's been booby trapped. There is a delay allowing him to step inside before the device explodes. There are a number of awful possibilities, to include murder.
But if someone did rig the garage to blow up, Kenda has another problem.
What if there's other things that are wired in this place? I don't know what's in here or what could be in here. And I don't want to find out the hard way.
All right, let's clear this place. Watch your step, though. We don't know what else is in here. Let's call the bomb squad.
A team of explosive technicians arrives on the scene.
These are the only people we have on the department, on any department, who truly understand explosives and various devices. They are the real deal.
No sooner has the bomb squad arrived than they provide Kenda with a valuable new piece of information.
Like military.
Military, what do you mean?
And whatever detonated here had an odor of military explosive.
That's not uncommon in Colorado Springs. We have Fort Carson, an enormous United States Army post that is filled with 30,000 soldiers and every kind of military explosive known to man, and ammunition storage bunkers that date back to World War II. There is a ton of ammunition and explosive items on that post.
It's entirely possible that somebody smuggled something off of Fort Carson and brought it over here.
Well, if they did, let's make sure there's no other surprises in there for us.
Tell you what, we'll check it out, let you know what we find.
Sounds good.
Just minutes later, the bomb squad sergeant emerges from the garage.
Looks like we found our source.
What is it?
My guys are still looking to see. We found this under some debris.
He came out with a pair of tweezers holding the arming handle from a grenade. The arming handle is a piece of metal that's curved and follows the body of the grenade down one side, referred to by slang as a spoon.
Hey, George. Go ahead. I've got an item here.
One of the guys in the squad says, I have an item. In their language, that means they have an explosive.
What have you got? It's another grenade, and this one appears to be live.
Okay, we need to clear the scene now. We need to get these people further back. I'm going to get one of my guys to suit up. We'll go in and get ready.
Got it, okay? Let's get everyone out of here.
Everyone, let's go. Everyone out right now. We need to clear the area. Everybody, let's back up, please. Everybody back.
A bomb suit is an armored system that protects the handler from explosives. It won't protect you from a big enough bang, but it will protect you from smaller explosives. He puts this thing on, it weighs about 100 pounds.
As the ordnance specialist moves in, everyone is on pins and needles.
This is a very tense situation. We don't know what else he might have to deal with when he's in there. The fear is that he's going to come out of there backwards in a microsecond in an angry black cloud. In this building with a destroyed human body, died from an explosion. We find evidence it probably was a grenade because we found a second grenade that is live. The issue now is, what do we do about the second grenade? What if it goes kabum?
Kenda has summoned the CSPD bomb squad to the scene. It's now up to the ordnance specialist to defuse this increasingly tense situation.
The man dressed in a bomb suit is going to carefully examine this second grenade to make sure it hasn't been tampered with in some way to cause it to detonate if you move it.
Everybody's on edge. You're always worried about something going wrong, causing an explosive device to detonate. That's what we have robots for now. Back then, you just didn't have them. So it's a very tense situation for all involved.
He's going to use a mirror so that he can make certain there's no wire that's so thin it's difficult to see with the naked eye. He's trying to make certain that the top of the grenade assembly looks normal and doesn't look like it's been removed and replaced. He wants to see that the pin appears to be in good order and in place.
Go ahead.
We're good. Nothing to worry about here.
The grenade is safe, untampered with, and it will not detonate. Perfect.
Didn't see any more devices, triggers, wires, anything of that nature. We're going to be clear.
Roger that. Let's back it up. Well, at least we know it's not rigged with any more explosives.
All right, I appreciate the help.
Homicide remains a possibility. Everything is in until it's absolutely out. It's still entirely possible that our victim walks in this building and the perpetrator is standing outside the building and throws in the grenade.
Kenda's first step to finding any possible suspects is to identify the victim.
Is there something going on in his life that would cause somebody to do this to him? Does this man have enemies? Who are these enemies if he does? And why would they want to do this to him?
According to neighbors, the house is a rental that was recently occupied by new tenants, but little is known about them.
I don't know his last name, but I think his first name is Esteban. Okay. He moved in with his wife about a month or two ago.
You know about how old he is?
I'm guessing probably in his 60s. He said something to the effect that he'd recently retired.
Okay.
In addition to interviewing neighbors, Kenda's team continues to scour the surrounding area for physical evidence.
Lieutenant! Back here!
One of the techs calls out and says, "You better come look at this." I assumed he found something he thought was evidence. So I walked over there, and he's a long way from the building.
What is it?
And he's standing there with kind of a concerned look on his face.
Looks like a finger.
It's a human index finger, and it is blown off at the first knuckle. The finger is crooked, so it almost looks like it's not real. It has a waxy look to it because it's an exploded body part, and it's very gray.
When Kenda bends down for a closer look, he notices that something is attached to the finger.
Once I get down close to the ground, I can see what it is. And this discovery can certainly change the direction of this case. We're investigating an explosion that results in the death of a person. We now know their first name is Esteban, and we've discovered a grenade is probably the device. And now we've discovered a human finger with something wrapped around it. When I see it standing up, there seems to be a wire or something around it. So I squat, and once I get down close to the ground, I can see what it is. It's the pin ring from a hand grenade.
More than likely, the victim in this case had detonated that hand grenade by pulling the pin and setting that grenade off.
So now we have to look at what's the theory here. Is this an accident? Is it suicide?
If this is the finger belonging to Esteban, then this changes everything. Nobody killed him. He killed himself.
Go ahead and bag that, get it back to the station. I'll see if we get a print off it.
Sure. Even though this finger is no longer attached to the body, the fingerprint area of the finger is intact. So it's a matter of removing the pen and inking that finger and rolling it on a fingerprint card as you would if it was attached to a living human.
At the lab, Kenda has an unexpected problem.
It's not gonna work. The finger's too bent.
You can't just, straighten it out?
You mean like crack the bones?
It's not uncommon in traumatic death that rigor mortis sets in immediately at the moment of death. This finger is frozen in position. It requires force to straighten out this finger. Usually, rigor begins at the neck and goes to the feet, and it reverses from the feet to the neck when it leaves the body.
I'm not gonna do that.
Give me a hand.
This could lead to a disgusting crack of bones and everything else that goes with it. And nothing pleasant about this work. When you hear bones crack, it is one of the most disgusting sounds you've ever heard in your life. I didn't like it, but it's the nature of the work.
Perfect.
Great.
So now we've recovered this fingerprint. It is readable. Looking at the wrist impressions on the paper, there's no question if prints are on file, we can positively identify the finger.
I'll get going on this and should have your last name in a couple of months.
Months? I don't have months.
Weeks if we're lucky. That's the best I can do without a last name on this guy.
Without knowing a name, you would have to compare that fingerprint to every inked impression. Wouldn't have time for that.
It appears the investigation has hit a brick wall. Thankfully, it doesn't take long for Kenda to catch another break.
Lieutenant, there's a woman out here who says she really needs to talk to you.
My immediate reaction was annoyance. Talk to me about what?
Who is she?
Apparently, she lives at the house that you're just at. Do you know the one where he's on the finger?
Well, now I'm not annoyed.
Her name was Jenny Maestas, and she was married to the victim.
It truly is a double-edged emotional sword. I felt suddenly thrilled that the mystery of his identity is about to be resolved. And at the same time, I have to explain to somebody that the person they've known and loved is no longer coming home. And that is difficult to do, and you never get accustomed to that.
I'm very, very sorry about this. What was your husband's name?
Esteban Maestas. We just moved in the house a couple months ago. He finally retired from his job.
What did he do?
He was a custodian at a school.
And that was the piece of knowledge I needed. Public schools require all employees to submit to fingerprints. So those inked impressions are on file. And they're on file in our building.
Kenda has the lab run the name with the print.
They identify it at once. That's his finger. The facts say that Esteban Maestas pulled the pin out of that grenade. What I don't know is why.
What was your husband doing today?
The wife tells me that she was home with Esteban. They moved into this place a couple months ago. And he was going to go look around and see what he could find in the garage.
He was cleaning out the garage. We really didn't go back there much because the people that lived there before left a bunch of junk in it. And I left. And he was going to stay there and clean up the garage.
From what I can determine from his wife, Esteban Maestas was not at all depressed, not at all upset, never been to see a psychiatrist. Nothing about his background through his wife would indicate that this was intentional on his part.
With suicide unlikely, Kenda is convinced he knows why the explosion occurred. It was a simple, tragic accident.
He's going out to see what's in the garage, and what he finds in there, among other things, is an hand grenade. Now, it's only speculation, but I'm sure that Esteban had no clue that this grenade was a live grenade. Maybe he thought he had some toy. Except it wasn't a toy. It was the real McCoy. He never knew what happened. He never felt a thing. It was lights out for him.
As to why there were grenades in the garage, Kenda can only speculate.
I'm certain that the things in that garage had been left there by a number of previous tenants. That stuff had been there for years and years and years.
The theory is that those grenades probably were stolen from Fort Carson and brought home by a soldier, God knows why. And either that guy decided that he didn't want to deal with having to dispose of them, and so he left them to be the next person's problem.
That problem fell into the hands of unsuspecting Esteban Maestas.
You ask, how could that happen? Esteban handles a grenade that he believes isn't real. And he was profoundly mistaken about that. There are many things in this world that people don't understand. Some of those things will kill you.
Coming up, a phone conversation between mother and daughter is cut short by a blaze of gunfire.
No! Oh my God!
There's a great deal of blood on this bed, so this person's intent is clear. I'm here to kill you for what I think is the best possible reason. And I'm going to shoot you more than once to get the job done.
It's a crystal clear afternoon in Colorado Springs.
Hello.
Hi, Mom.
Oh, hi, baby. How are you?
And Debbie Blackman is engaged in one of her favorite activities, catching up with her 19-year-old daughter Shelley, who lives across town.
How's that grandbaby of mine?
We're fine. Just been real busy lately.
They're chatting. They're having a mom-daughter talk.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
What are you doing here?
What is that?
They've been chatting along, and all of a sudden, somebody clearly walked into the room because Debbie heard Shelley say something to somebody.
Get out of here.
Are you okay?
Get out of here.
What's that noise?
All of a sudden, she hears her daughter start to yell something at somebody. She doesn't know who.
Shelley?
Get out of here.
Shelley?
No.
Oh my God.
And then hears what she describes as loud multiple bangs.
Shelley? Hello?
And then the phone goes dead. She recognizes that something traumatic just occurred.
Oh my God.
Debbie's running in panic mode. She leaves her residence to drive immediately over to Shelley's residence.
To be talking to somebody and out of the blue have it just end like that, it would be terrible. The worst thing would go through your head, and the worst thing is what happened.
Minutes later, CSPD dispatch informs Lieutenant Joe Kenda there's been a possible homicide on the northeast side of Colorado Springs in the Yuma Court townhomes.
How you doing? So what we got?
The shooting inside apartment D, victim is a 19-year-old Shelley Blackman. Been shot multiple times in the torso and face. Medical already transported her to the hospital. She's in pretty bad shape.
Any witnesses?
There are 2 individuals back here that made the 911 call. They're in shock and pretty shaken up.
I'll talk to them when they calm down.
Yes, thank you.
People wonder, how could anybody be traumatized to that level to where you can't even talk? If you've seen a violent crime happen in front of you, your emotions become maxed. You cannot function in any kind of normal way, and in many cases can't say a word.
While he waits for the eyewitnesses to collect themselves, Kenda makes his way into Shelley's apartment.
It's upstairs, right?
Yes, sir.
Everything seems to be in order until Kenda gets to Shelley's bedroom.
There's a lot of heavy blood. There's a phone that's been smashed on the bed. So the victim is on the phone when the shooter arrives in the room and instantaneously begins shooting.
Kenda scans the room for signs of a possible burglary.
The jewelry is on a dresser, undisturbed. Nothing's been moved, nothing's been knocked over. Absolutely nothing is out of place.
Except for one disturbing item.
What is that, sir?
It's like a tooth. Off from where she got shot in the face.
We've had cases where a person's shot in the mouth. Generally, they're going to lose some teeth. Sometimes they're at the scene, sometimes they're swallowed. In this case, we do find some teeth on the bed and on the floor where the shot had occurred.
We also find 6 expended casings in the room.
9mm.
We looked the head stamp on the casings. They're in standard 9mm. And at least one of them's in her face. So it would indicate the range is relatively close. So this person's intent is clear. They come there, whoever they are, armed with a gun, and they intend to use it.
Sir, the victim's mother was here. We told her that her daughter had been shot and she was very upset. She was insisting on speaking with you.
Let's go.
So I stop poking around in this bedroom and start to walk down the stairs. And I look in the family room, and there's a playpen. Nobody's in it. But there's toys in it, there's a pillow in it. So where's this kid? And what happened to this child?
Is there a child about? We have eyes on the child?
The baby's outside with another officer in the backseat of his car.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good news. The kid's okay.
But Kenda isn't the only one inquiring about the child. Stepping outside, he runs directly into a desperate Debbie Blackman.
Sir, they tell me you're in charge here, and I have to get in there to see my grandchild if she's okay.
Ma'am, she's perfectly fine. She's with another officer.
Oh, God.
Stepping over here.
Okay.
Your daughter's been taken to the hospital, and I'll have someone take your granddaughter in a moment. But first I need to ask you a few questions.
She's extremely distraught, but I explained to her I'm trying to determine who might or could be responsible for hurting your daughter. And you're my best chance to find that out right now.
Can you tell me about your daughter? Was she married? Divorced?
The man she had the baby with, they're no longer together, and she has a new boyfriend.
Debbie says that Shelley had a boyfriend named Thomas Terry.
Her mom said he'd been in the military. He had a job with the post office. Thomas seemed like a pretty good guy.
How about work? Does she have a job?
Well, she was working retail, but she wasn't making enough money to support the baby, so she took a job someplace else.
So what does she do now?
Well, she works at a gentleman's club dancing.
Now that opens up a busload of potential suspects. Many strange men going to strip clubs. They're a different breed of individual. That opens up a new arena for me. I'm not prepared to jump in that arena yet, but I'm worried about it.
Has she had any trouble with the clientele that you know of?
Well, the only thing she said was that there was a couple of customers who had given her their phone number and stuff, but that was really just about it.
Do you know their names?
No.
To Debbie's knowledge, Shelley had never acted upon any of those numbers and had never called anyone.
All right, well, I know you need to go check on your daughter and granddaughter. Perhaps we can speak again?
Yes.
I just looked in on the two witnesses for calling 911. They're both ready to talk.
All right.
The officer says the girl is Shelley's roommate. Her name is Desiree Peterson. She is also 19 years old. The male who is present is a 23-year-old guy named Reginald, who is Desiree's boyfriend. So we interview them one at a time so we don't get cross stories between the two.
I'll talk to Desiree first. Desiree, I'm Detective Kenda. Mind if I ask you a few questions?
Yeah.
I want to talk to Desiree first because she is Shelley's roommate, so she's going to know more than he does about Shelley.
Is there anything you can share with me about what happened to Shelley?
I know your daughter.
Witnesses often say they know what happened, they saw what happened, and that's not that meaningful to me usually because it's usually not correct. But in this particular case, Desiree's tone of voice and the look in her eye said to me loud and clear that she really did know who was responsible for this.
There's not a doubt in my mind.
You want to tell me about that?
This case has just moved into the fast lane. I can feel it. We are almost there. I need a name and a face, and I think I'm about to get it. So we're investigating a shooting where a girl is most likely going to die as a result of multiple gunshot wounds. We're trying to determine who possibly might be involved, and I think I just found somebody who knows who's involved.
Desiree Peterson, the roommate of shooting victim Shelley Blackman, tells Kenda that she was in the apartment with Shelley and her boyfriend Thomas Terry earlier in the day.
Shelley and Terry are fighting again.
So it's not unusual for them to fight?
Not since Shelley started dancing at the club.
Thomas was getting possessive and was getting jealous. And he didn't like the fact that she needed to work a second job in a strip club to make money.
That really drove Thomas nuts.
What happened today?
Shelley and Thomas are fighting again in front of me and my boyfriend. And it got pretty bad. And he started going through her purse and found numbers that guys gave him that she danced for at the club.
What are you in my purse?
What the fuck is this? More numbers from the club?
What? Oh my god.
Who is Glenn?
It's just a phone.
Who is Glenn?
Get
out of me! What the fuck is it? You
did that to you. Just get out.
Get rid of it.
So the fight was getting real bad, so Reginald took him for a ride so he could calm down.
So what happened after they left?
She wanted him out, and he's not living with us or anything, so we packed some of his stuff in a duffel bag and left it downstairs for him.
Desiree tells Kenda that when Reginald and Thomas returned a short time later, things went from bad to worse.
When Reginald and Thomas walk back into place, the first thing Thomas sees is his duffel bag with all his things in it, and it really sets him off.
That's when Thomas went out to get a gun hidden in the glove compartment of his car.
The duffel bag was the last straw. And he goes back outside for a minute to the car that he was just in. And he comes back inside and goes straight upstairs. They don't see the gun. He probably makes it a point that they don't see it.
I'm doing good.
What are you doing here?
What is that?
Put my bag at the door.
Because you're leaving. Get out.
You okay?
I'm not going anywhere.
Get out of here.
What's that noise?
No!
Shelly? Shelly?
So you and Reginald heard gunshots. What'd you do?
We went upstairs to see what was happening. And that's when we saw Thomas with the gun.
Get the Cheryl, dude.
He threatened us, so we just moved. And he left. Shelly?
Oh my. Shelly? Shelly?
They see Shelley on the bed, bleeding profusely. She's been violently assaulted with gunfire, and the results are horrible.
So when Thomas left, do you know where he went?
No, but Shelly's car isn't here anymore, so I think he took it.
He's got a gun. What's he gonna do? Nothing good is what he's gonna do. Nothing good. We have solid information on what he's driving. We run the registration. We put out a bulletin, model, color, type, and plate number on this car.
6 minutes after Kenda issues an APB, dispatch informs him that Thomas Terry has been spotted driving southbound on Union Street.
Officer Spitzmiller is the officer who spotted him and started to chase him.
He is starting to snake or move from lane to lane, weaving in and out of traffic. He enters the intersection of Pikes Peak and Union against a solid red light. He is T-boned from a car that's going eastbound. He then hits a vehicle which is northbound, stopped for the red light.
His car was immobilized from the impact, and there was steam rolling out of the radiator, and it wouldn't start.
What the hell are you doing? Get away from him! He's got a gun!
I know that this is a very volatile situation. He's just been involved in a homicide with a firearm. I'm concerned about whether or not now we're going to get into a shootout. He has nothing to lose.
Officer Spitzmiller waits for Thomas's next move.
I can tell that he has a firearm in his hand. He's starting to work the action of the firearm. I can hear rounds, because the windows are blown out of the car, actually hit and thump on the ceiling liner of the inside of the car.
Throw your gun out the window! Put your hands on your head!
He's not complying with any of my orders. He's still working the action of the gun. I'm now thinking, okay, he's going to either shoot at me or I'm going to shoot at him, or it's going to happen both ways.
Throw your gun out the window! Put your hands on your head!
This is the moment of your worst fear. There's going to be gunplay. Most police shootings happen within 30 seconds of the officer's arrival. If they happen right now.
He starts smacking the bottom of the gun. And he brings the gun and he points in my direction. I'm getting ready to engage and I'm starting to squeeze the trigger on my service weapon, thinking this is the point of no return. This is the point where either it's him or me.
Drop the gun!
I'm screaming at him. He takes one more look at me. We lock eyes.
Drop the gun! Don't do it!
Turns back away from me, lifts the gun and puts it in his mouth. Pulls the trigger.
Start an ambulance. I've got one single gunshot to the head, self-inflicted.
From Thomas's point of view, when he hits that car, his future just went away. His option is to get arrested and go to jail for the rest of his life, or to end his life right now. He chose the worst of the two.
As for Kenda, he arrives just in time to see his murder suspect loaded into the back of an ambulance.
He's not going to live through this, but they call medical, they remove him from the car, and take Thomas Terry to Memorial Hospital, the very same place where his girlfriend is. The poetic thing about it to me was Shelley Blackman is in one of these rooms, and separated by a half-inch piece of drywall is the person who put her there, Thomas Terry.
She's gone.
They first pronounced Shelley Blackman deceased, and 30 seconds later they pronounced Thomas Terry to also be deceased. They are within 3 feet of each other and both dead.
The story is such a cautionary tale. When certain behaviors become part of your relationship and people tell you this is dangerous, you're not the one that's going to miraculously change this person. You may love them. You may think you can. But the odds are 1,000,000 to 1 that you're not.
She wants to love him. He wants to love her too. But if he can't love her on his terms, he wants to love her to death.
Two murder investigations from the case files of Lieutenant Joe Kenda. A pair of loving grandparents are shot dead in their home.
I don't think you could find a more traumatizing event than watching a loved one die violently in front of you.
But has the killer already slipped through Kenda's grasp?
He said he was going to hop a train to Mexico.
I have a 1% chance of finding him in Mexico. If he's in Mexico, he might as well be on the moon.
Then, the most gruesome murder of Kenda's career.
My God. This is mutilation beyond the pale. This is obviously done by someone who is deeply sick.
And a nationwide manhunt ends in a treacherous showdown.
When someone is deeply disturbed, they are ultimately very dangerous because they are completely unpredictable. You become hardened to this sort of thing. It is a sad fact of the profession. I don't lose all my emotions about humans, but I am able to coat my emotions in railroad steel. Not much gets through to me. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I'm Lieutenant Joe Kenda. I've solved nearly 400 homicides. Somebody has to take control. Somebody has to look out for the victim. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved.
As the workday comes to a close at American Telecasting Company, 26-year-old Julio Zamorán Jr. prepares to pack up his things.
I was a technician, and I was actually at the office setting up the gear that the guys were going to be needing the next day.
Julio, you have a phone call.
Oh, okay, thanks. Hello?
This is my friend Kevin.
Kevin? What's up?
I don't think I ever got a personal call at work, so I knew something was wrong. What?
His friend is frantic. He's like, something terrible has happened. You gotta go to your parents' house. You gotta go right away.
Oh my God.
Everything all right?
I gotta go. When I pulled up to the house, there were several police cars. There was an ambulance that was bringing my mother out. I really couldn't get too close to her at the time.
Sir, hold up.
What's going on? They told me that, my parents were shot. The only thought that ran through my mind was seeing my parents and making sure they're okay. It was chaos because I could see my sisters crying on the side by the front door, my nephew crying. There's a lot of things to take in at once.
Across town, Lieutenant Joe Kenda is headed back to the station after a long day in court when he gets a page.
Go for Kenda. And I knew what it was. It's what it always is. No one is asking me how I'm doing. No one wants to know if I want to go to lunch. That's the communications center, police department, and something bad just happened.
Within minutes, Kenda arrives at the scene.
You have ambulances there. You have the uniformed cruisers. So it's very, very busy. No one even noticed me till I was almost to the front door.
Hey, Lieutenant.
Yeah? What a mess.
Yes, sir.
So what we got?
We've got 2 adult victims, 1 male and 1 female. They both appear to be mid-50s.
They are Julio Zamaran Sr. and his wife, Guadalupe Zamaran. They have been shot once in the chest each with a large caliber handgun.
Julio and Guadalupe have been married for 34 years. They have 8 children and 8 grandchildren.
They're solid working class Americans who take care of each other and their family.
What's the status of the victims?
They're leaving in the ambulance, going to the hospital, but I'm sure they're going to pronounce them DOA.
Any witnesses?
Yeah, the whole family was in the house.
Some right there?
Yes, sir.
I don't think you could find a more traumatizing event than watching a loved one die violently in front of you. There's nothing worse than that.
One look at the grieving Zamaran family convinces Kenda that they need time to recover before he questions them.
Some time is certainly better than no time. So rather than approach them, let me look at this crime scene first.
When did the shooting take place?
Just inside in the living room.
Inside the Zamaran small bungalow, Kenda finds evidence of a surprising number of occupants.
Any idea how many people live here?
Approximately 15 people, sir.
Their own family?
Yes, sir.
My parents were very dedicated to the family. I mean, that's the way we were brought up. It's basically the only way I can say it is familia es primero. Families first. They need to stay with you. They need help. If you can provide it, you do it. You just can't leave your family.
So the bodies are found?
Yes, sir. Right over there.
Kenda finds 2 large blood stains in front of a couch and an adjacent easy chair.
That would indicate to me that they were sitting next to each other and slid out after being shot, thus leaving the blood on the floor.
If they were sitting, they were relaxing. They had no reason to believe that their lives were in danger. And so this was out of the blue.
Nothing's out of place. Nothing is disturbed. Whoever did this walked in here, shot 2 people, and walked right back out again. This is bang, bang, and goodbye. That suggests plan. Somebody knows what they're going to do before they come inside.
Any ballistics?
Yes, sir. Marker number 4.
The bullet looks like a .357 Magnum, which would explain the DOA. 357 Magnum describes a very high energy, large caliber bullet that is going to go through a human like a knife through a wedding cake. They are really, really devastating to humans.
Right next to the easy chair, Kenda finds a woman's purse.
All the way open. Now, every woman I know, my wife included, never leaves a purse open. The existence of that open purse indicates the possibility of robbery being part of this.
All right, thank you. You want to talk to the witnesses? Yes, sir. Kevin, come through.
When I walked back outside, I asked family members to come forward and form a group around the porch area.
It's going to be important for me to talk to each one of you about what happened here today. I understand you're extremely distraught, and I don't blame you.
Julio and Guadalupe were the backbone of their large extended family.
Julio Sr. was retired in the United States Army. Guadalupe was a housekeeper.
Julio and Guadalupe, after all those years of marriage, were enjoying life with each other.
My dad, what made him happy was my mom. As long as she was smiling, he was okay. He'd like to take her out dancing. You could always tell that they had danced together for many years.
At this moment, you think, these are people that this isn't supposed to happen to. They work hard. They work all their life. They take care of their own. And they die like this, violently, in their own home. I can't bring back their loved ones, but I can certainly take their revenge for them on the person responsible. That I can do. So at this point in this investigation, we have a couple in their middle 50s who were shot to death in their own living room for no apparent reason at all.
An open purse found at the scene suggests robbery might be the motive. But Lieutenant Joe Kendo thinks it's unlikely to be the sole motive behind this cold-blooded execution.
Everything about this crime scene says personal. Somebody has a very specific reason directed completely at them and no one else. They had their choice of all the other people in this house. The only people dead are these two. So I don't know why yet. I intend to find out.
Several members of the Zamaron family witnessed the shooting and have now recovered enough to speak to Kenda. The first to come forward is a daughter named Lupe.
I know you're very upset, but I need you to help me understand what happened to your parents.
According to Lupe, she has been in an abusive marriage to a man named Gabriel Vasquez since she was 17 years old.
My sister and Gabriel had 3 kids together, 2 boys and a girl. But their relationship was always rocky. It was always abusive towards her.
Lupe explains that a few months back, she and Gabriel moved to Texas. But after a particularly violent encounter, Lupe had Gabriel arrested on domestic assault charges.
And when he went to jail, my dad drove down there. And he got me and the kids to come back here to live with them.
She is very relieved. When last she knew, Gabe's in jail. She thinks her problems are over. Everything's fine. A week later, the doorbell rings. And there he stands. Her heart drops through the floor.
What do you want? Con tu permiso, Don Julio. Came to say I'm sorry.
He was respectful. He was pleasant. He wanted to see his children and his wife.
I know what I did was wrong, but I've changed. It will never happen again, I swear. I promise. Please, por favor, come home with me.
We're staying here with my family. Me and the children.
Okay. Niños, adiós. Te amo mucho. Que te vaya bien.
Adiós. You know, I think he changed, and if he did, it was for the worse.
I said, tell me what you know about this shooting. Lupe tells me that her husband, Gabriel Vasquez, came back and shot and killed her parents in front of her in this house moments ago. Here is a man who's completely out of control of his emotions. He has a gun. He's obviously not afraid to use it. What if he decides to come back for the remainder of this family and kill them too? Is he capable of that? Of course he is.
Lupe gives Kenda a detailed description of Gabe. And as night falls, a search team scours the area in search of him. But the canvassing effort turns up no sign of Gabriel. Shortly after midnight, Kenda tells his men to stand down.
In my opinion, it's too dangerous to continue. We'll find him. Just not tonight, and not in the dark, and risk somebody getting shot.
The following morning, Kenda puts word out to the press that an armed killer is on the loose. That decision quickly pays dividends.
This is Kenda. Okay.
Dispatch tells Kenda that an anonymous caller has reported that Gabriel Vasquez was seen with a man named Slim just prior to the shooting.
And he gives us an address on Mallard Drive.
I'd appreciate the help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anonymous. We'll take it.
20 minutes later, Kenda arrives at the Mallard Drive address provided by the anonymous tipster.
Can I help you? Are you Slim?
Yeah.
When's the last time you saw Gabriel Vasquez?
Slim saw him yesterday afternoon, just before the murder.
Came by, we had a few drinks, played some cards.
You going down, by the way. You talk too much, man. Man, play the cards, man. Let's go. You taking so long. Come on. You keep rushing me, I'm gonna take you out. Like I'm gonna take them out. Whatever about though. Who you gonna take out, man? You know, play the cards. My wife's parents.
Slim says he's kind of half listening to this. They're playing cards. Finally, Gabe says to Slim,
messed them up.
Slim kind of ignores that too until Gabe produces a handgun out of his pocket.
Messed them up real bad.
It's a .357 Magnum. And when he sees the gun, Slim's attitude changes.
What you gonna do with that? Man, put it away.
Gabe picks up Slim's bottle of vodka, takes a couple of hits.
Put it away so we can play this game, man.
Puts the gun in his pocket.
Hey, man, where you going, man? Let's play the cards.
And walks out the door.
Have you seen or heard from him since then?
No.
Slim informs Kenda that Gabe has been staying at the Red Cross shelter downtown.
So we go to the Red Cross shelter, we show his picture. You know? Oh yeah, we know. Yeah, Gabe the laborer. That's what they know him as. You seen him lately?
No, I haven't, but one of the residents said he saw him earlier down by the train yard.
Any idea why he was there?
I believe he said he was going to hop a train to Mexico.
Really?
Yeah.
That changes things. Thank you.
So now, for the first time, we have a solid lead on what Gabe's plan is. We still don't have Gabe, but we know his plan to escape the jurisdiction.
If Gabriel Vasquez is bound for Mexico, then Kenda's chances of catching him are growing slimmer by the second.
Trains run constantly through Colorado Springs both day and night. If Gabriel has made it to Mexico, I do not believe we will ever find him. I have a 1% chance of finding him in Mexico. 1%. If he's in Mexico, he might as well be on the moon. We're investigating the death of two people who you would not think would ever fall victim to such a crime. Julio and Guadalupe Zamaran. We've identified the perpetrator, one Gabriel Vasquez. We now know that he's in the rail yards area, last seen, but we know his plan is to jump a train to Mexico, and maybe he already did.
With the clock ticking, Kenda's team races to the rail yard.
All right, guys, we're gonna search all these cars. It could be any one of them. Just remember, he's probably armed, so be careful. Let's go, Mr.
As time wears on, we're not finding anything. We're not finding anybody. I'm feeling pretty miserable. I'm thinking that Gabe is gone, man. He's in the wind, and I hear two officers' voices.
You, under the blanket, come out! Come out now! Okay! Come out! Okay!
Oh, music to my ears. And I run in that direction. And they have him.
Don't show me your hand! Don't shoot!
No train to Mexico for him. He's going to get a police car ride to headquarters.
Once back at the station, Kenda interrogates Gabe Vasquez.
Gabriel, the reason why you're here is because you're being accused of shooting and killing Julio Zamorano Sr. and Guadalupe Zamorano.
I know. I shot them both.
And why'd you do that, Gabe? Nothing else to do that day? Oh, they had it coming. They deserved it.
What did they do to deserve it?
They stole my money. They make lies about how I abused my wife, my children, and got me arrested in Texas. And none of it was true.
At the end of this diatribe about how it's their fault, Gabe says, but the last straw with them is when they took my family away from me and wouldn't give it back.
They need to pay for what they did. That's why I went over there.
What happened when you went over there?
Eso. El león. Dale el peluche.
Hola, Lupe. Hello?
Alright, what are you doing here?
I came to see the kids.
You can't see the kids.
Why not?
Show them, Lupe.
Show me what?
But when Gabe gets there, he's confronted with a court order.
What is this?
That says he cannot be near his children, he cannot be near his wife, because he's now been duly served with a restraining order.
What is this?
That's the law. You need to stay away from my daughter and her children. You need to get out of here, Gabe, now!
So Julio Sr. and Guadalupe have taken legal steps to exclude him from these children and from his wife. And he becomes incensed.
You can't do this.
Why not?
It's my family.
Yeah, not anymore.
My children,
Not
my
anymore.
wife.
Look, get out of here before you go back to jail.
He had a gun in his pocket, and when his worst fear is presented to him in writing, emotion takes over. There's no thought anymore. Now it's just rage. He pulls the trigger again and kills her. Then he says he's going to get back the money they never paid him. He takes what money he finds and runs out the front door. What Gabe did is a completely insane act, of course, but it's typical for someone who has an abusive personality. No one matters except him.
With Gabe Vasquez's statement in tow, Kenda is able to charge him with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Before trial, Gabriel pleads guilty to the lesser charge of second-degree murder. He is sentenced to 85 years in prison.
My dad always taught me not to hate. But I wish that, the proper justice would have been able to be taken upon him.
Trauma has a really destructive effect on family structure. a lot of times it all just starts to unravel.
It just, tore our family apart. We kind of split up. That center focus was gone.
Julio Sr. and Guadalupe worked hard all their lives. They took care of their own. What happens? They pay for it with their lives. Proof, once again, the thing that frightens people most. Life is random. You never know where the problem is going to come from. But come it does. Come it does.
Coming up, the most horrifying crime of Kenda's career.
I am amazed at the number of instruments that have apparently been used to inflict whatever damage has been done to this person. This is the result of a deranged mind.
It's a cloudy Sunday morning in Colorado Springs. And Lieutenant Joe Kenda is looking forward to a rare day off with his family.
It was about 9:30 in the morning, and I was walking down the driveway to get the Sunday paper. I just pick it up, I take it out of the bag, I'm savoring the thought of reading, and I hear Kathy's voice.
Joe, they're on the phone.
I always know who they are. And I'm thinking maybe I could read this paper on Wednesday, because I don't think I'm going to read it today.
This is Kenda.
Dispatch informs Kenda that a 911 call came in reporting a murder. When police responded, they found a mutilated body.
Mutilated?
Oh, swell. Okay, well, we're going to come over and look at that.
Within the hour, Kenda is on the scene.
When I pulled up to that apartment building, I noticed one officer is leaning on the railing outside the entrance of the building. And he looks like he's either been sick or he's about to get sick.
You all right? I don't know.
Apparently this may be beyond the pale of mutilation. These are experienced policemen, and they are upset by what they have seen. So I know whatever this is, it's going to be unpleasant.
Where's the body? It's in the bedroom.
Kenda braces himself and makes his way inside.
I see a blood-soaked white sheet covering up human remains. There is an enormous amount of blood around the body that's under this sheet.
Did we put the sheet there?
No, sir, it was already there. We pulled it back, checked for vitals, we put it back in place.
It's that bad?
Worst I've ever seen, sir.
My first thought was maybe I don't want to look under this sheet, but that option is not available to me.
Before Kenda pulls back the sheet, he surveys the area surrounding the victim.
I am amazed at the number of instruments that I find around this body that have apparently been used to inflict whatever damage has been done to this person. There are knives, a potato peeler, scissors, a screwdriver, and a table leg that had been torn off of a kitchen table.
As CSIs document the scene, Kenda searches the rest of the apartment.
In the bathroom, the toilet is backed up. The water is crimson with blood.
We need to get a plumber here to see what's in there. Someone's on the way, Lieutenant.
Something has been put in this toilet. We don't know what. So I return back out to the bedroom.
All right, let's see what we got going on under there.
The crime scene tech lifts the sheet and immediately turns away.
Oh my God.
When the sheet is lifted, it is the body of a female, apparently in her late 20s, who has been disemboweled. There is no skin or epidermis present. Her right breast is not present. She has, by count, over 100 stab wounds. This is mutilation beyond the pale. The cutting injuries to her chest are post-mortem. You can tell that because they're non-reactive. There is no blood other than gravity bleeding. A dead body doesn't bleed. Post-mortem injury not designed to cause the death of the victim, not in a wild, frenzied rage, but in a morbid, perverse, curious way.
In the kitchen, one of Kenda's men finds a purse.
Found her ID, Lieutenant. Herta Caraway.
Her name is Herta Caraway. Her date of birth indicates that she is presently 29 years of age. It shows the address as being the address we're standing in. So, in my mind, we have made identification of this person.
Lieutenant, plumber's here.
All right, then.
He takes one look in the toilet and he's about ready to throw up because of the amount of blood in the water.
Listen, I know this isn't your run-of-the-mill service call, but I need to know what's in that toilet. So I want you to move the toilet. You can step aside.
You don't have to stay for the discovery. We very carefully lift this toilet off of the sewer pipe.
There you go. Jesus.
We find the victim's right breast in the drainage area of the toilet. This is obviously done by someone who is deeply sick. This is not something I've ever seen.
Kenda's next step is to make contact with the victim Herta Caraway's relatives, which means he also has to notify them of her death.
I have no intention of describing what has been done to their daughter. I'm going to say that Herta is no longer alive. It is less harsh than saying anything else.
Headquarters tracks down a name and address for the victim's parents, Earl and Maria Tate.
Miss Tate?
Earl? Come down here.
I have learned over the years, just tell them. Don't beat around the bush. Don't allow them to agonize and get even more upset. Just tell them.
I'm very sorry to inform you that your daughter, Herta, is no longer living.
Maria's eyes rolled back in her head, and she passed out. I called for medical. They responded.
I think she's gonna be all right. She just needs a few minutes. Can you tell me about Herta and the people in her life?
She liked to be by herself. She liked to be alone. She was always like that.
Can you think of anyone that would want to harm her?
Not really. I do know she was having some kind of problems with her ex-husband.
According to Earl, Herta met her husband just over a year ago.
They dated for a very short period of time, and they got married very quickly after they met.
But Earl tells Kenda that the marriage ended abruptly.
She made the choice to leave him, and she moved into this apartment on Murray to live alone. My interest is now maxed. Who is the ex-husband? And more importantly, where is he right now? I'm investigating the death of 29-year-old Herta Caraway, who has been brutally murdered, and then post-mortem mutilation took place. An absolutely awful crime. I've learned from her father that she left her husband because of problems. What kind of problems are we having with this guy?
Can you tell me what his name is?
His name is Peter Caraway. He had mental problems. It caused her to leave him.
Now that got my undivided attention. I think back to that crime scene that has mental illness written all over it, and now finding him immediately is critical.
Do you happen to know where Peter is?
No, I don't.
Do you have contact with any friends or family that you know of?
Mr. Tate recalls that Peter has a mother whose name is Ruth Foshee, and she lives on the west side of Colorado Springs.
Lieutenant Canada Dispatch?
Go for dispatch.
I need you to run the name Ruth Foshee and give me an address.
That's the woman who made the 911 call.
What? Well, that's who called, a woman named Ruth Foshee. She obviously has knowledge of this event. She told the police they better go to Herda's apartment because Herda is in there dead. So how exactly does Ruth know that?
Mrs. Foshee, do you know why we're here?
Yeah, Peter. I knew something like this was going to happen.
Why do you say that?
He's been diagnosed with acute paranoid schizophrenia.
People like Peter who suffer from schizophrenia, they hear voices, they have trouble dealing with normal world day to day.
When he takes his meds, he's okay. But he forgets, and it gets really, really bad.
When they stop taking that medication, they dive deeper and deeper and deeper into delusionary thought, hallucinations, and completely lose contact with reality.
Ruth, we know you called 911 about your son. Will you tell us why you made that call?
Ruth says that morning, her son pulls up in front of her house on his motorcycle.
His hands were cut and bleeding.
This is a woman who understood when he was doing things he shouldn't be doing. So when he arrived with cuts on his hands, she began asking him,
"What happened to your hands, Peter?"
I cut it on the bike.
I didn't believe him. I know him well enough. I knew he was lying. Peter, what have you done? Peter, look at me.
She keeps pressing the point. He finally looked at his mother, looked her right in the eye.
Herta. I had to kill her.
Oh my God, no. Peter, no.
I had to do it, Mom.
No.
I'm sorry.
No. Oh.
She stands there in shock and watches Peter drive away on his motorcycle.
You know where Peter is right now?
No. He said he was going to leave. He said something about Texas. He has a cousin in Texas. And he left on a motorcycle, so he could be heading there.
Thank you for your help.
So now we absolutely know who we're looking for. We also know that Peter Caraway is a fugitive from justice.
Kenda puts out a bolo in Colorado and Texas for Peter Caraway. 3 hours later, he gets a hit.
This is Kenda.
We get a phone call from Vega, Texas. And they explain that this individual goes to a convenience store on a motorcycle.
Can I help you?
He's a big guy. He's kind of scary looking because he's so disconnected.
Gas.
Thank you.
Peter goes back out, puts $1 worth of gas in the pipe. Comes back in, gives her another $1.
Gas.
She's had enough of him. She calls the police. And they go over and see who this cat is. And who they find is one each Peter Caraway.
He looked like to be about 7 foot tall, but turned out he's only 6'5", but he just really looked like he was fighting mad. So I said, do you have any identification?
Yes.
Where?
It's in my shirt pocket.
So I said, with 2 fingers, very slowly, pull your ID out. And if you pull out anything different than that, I'm going to kill you right where you stand. And he reached in and he pulled out his identification, and I said, put it on the hood of the car.
The officers run Peter's identification.
Wanted out of Colorado for murder. Place your hands behind your head and interlock your fingers. Won't pat you down for weapons.
And it's over. They have Caraway by the throat.
Kenda sends 2 detectives down to Texas to bring Peter back to Colorado Springs.
We now have Peter Caraway in our hands, as crazy as he is, and he is as crazy as a bedbug. There's no question about that.
Peter, we're here to talk about your ex-wife, Herta.
Oh, yeah. Herta.
What do you remember about Herta?
Well, you see, I had to get rid of her.
Why'd you have to get rid of her, Peter?
Because she was trying to kill me with kindness.
Excuse me? Well, you know, she was being too nice to me. That was scary to me. No, Peter, I think the scary person in this room would be you.
Unable to elicit a coherent statement from Peter, Kenda can only surmise what happened when Peter showed up at Herta's apartment the night he killed her.
Is he off his medication? Did he have another delusion? Did he suffer another hallucination? Who knows? Something brings him there.
I know what you've been doing.
What are you talking about?
Something goes wrong between he and her.
Kenda believes that after cornering Herta in the bedroom, Peter bludgeoned her with a table leg. And stabbed her over 100 times.
Once she's dead, then we have this macabre curiosity effect of him trying to decide what makes her to work. And then maybe he decides if he cuts her up in small enough pieces, he can flush her down the toilet. Who knows what he's thinking?
Why'd you kill her, Peter?
I just told you. She's trying to kill me with kindness.
Amid his otherwise baffling replies, Peter Caraway does make one lucid point that seals his fate.
Please, I'm begging you. Don't tell my mother.
He was very concerned that his mother would be distressed if she found out what he'd done.
At trial, Peter Caraway pleads guilty to 1 count of second-degree murder and a crime of violence.
The obvious question is, why couldn't he plead insanity? It's because in Colorado, the insanity defense is very simple. Do you know the difference between right and wrong? That's the only test.
In the court's eyes, at the time of the murder, Peter knew what he was doing was wrong.
He doesn't want his mother to know what he did. He flees the jurisdiction. All sorts of things say that he knew what he did was wrong. Insanity would have never worked for him. Never worked. Not in Colorado. It will in some states, but not this one.
The judge sentences Peter Caraway to 48 years in the Colorado State Penitentiary.
I personally believe that humans are innately violent. It's something in our nature that's been true for 1 million years. Mental illness provides a gateway for our violent past to come forward. This is why humans are the most dangerous animal on this planet. They can think